What are you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Either you are, or I'll be skipping rope with your entrails. Ta-ta.
This podcast is brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Robots Radio. Games. Lore. Stories. Community. Just press play. Welcome to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, the podcast where we explore the amazing universe of the Elder Scrolls. Adventurers, welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. This is your host, Tom, or Robots. I'm here with my good buddy, the Lotus of the Doom. Lotus,
hey.
How's it going?
It's pretty good. Lots of happenings in the whole Elder Scrolls world at the moment.
I hear you got a fancy letter from a mysterious...
I got a fancy letter, which doesn't really look super fancy until you put it under a blacklight. Then it gets real fancy.
Yeah, and then the internet exploded when you pointed that out. So,
yes.
So that's what this episode's about today. So, okay, so let's rein it in a little bit. We're going to get into all the fun details. But
jumped 5 steps.
5 steps ahead, which is how par for the course at this point. So, Blacklight is an actual location in the Elder Scrolls. So I figured, you know what? Let's do an episode on Blacklight, discuss why that location might be a good setting for this next year of ESO content, and then discuss some of what was in that letter and what the Blacklight, when you shined the letter in a Blacklight, reveals and how that might play in. So we'll begin our little bit of speculation, which we can continue next week if our patrons would like to, because we can talk about any of the reveal stuff we get next week during the Bethesda Xbox conference, and then how that might tie into this letter and all of that stuff. So let's start the speculation conversation. But first, let's talk about Blacklight. So yeah. So interesting. Do you know who came up with the idea of putting it under a Blacklight to begin with?
So actually, I do. They were, it was actually kind of like the combo team of the Fox Den, which is Ninetail Fox and his wife, Mrs. Ninetails, part of the ESO stream team. And I had the pleasure of meeting them last year at PAX East. She actually won one of the giveaways during the Extra Life charity thing, which I've got next to me, and I'm going to give it to them at PAX East this year. So
nice.
It's... They were the ones who I actually saw first get the letter, because I was still at work when I saw the situation. And you get little, random envelopes and stuff like that. It showed up and they mentioned they got something in the mail. And I was like, oh, that's exciting. And then I saw Elder Memes post that he got something. And I was like, oh, interesting. So I was then excited. I was like, oh, maybe I'll get something. That'd be fun. And sure enough, I got home. I had my little letter and I looked at it, and it's on very, very thick cardboard. Well, technically paper, but it is a thick piece of paper. And I've got photos up on, I have them on my Twitter. Also, they're on the UESB now for documentation. So you can always check them out there too. But it was thick, and it had almost like a print, it had the letter itself. It's very fancy cursive, and
here, I'm pulling it up on the screen right now. You can see. This is your Twitter. Put it on
camera, but it does not go. Yeah, it doesn't show very well.
Right. So this is your Twitter account, and you can click on it. And you can see the perfect. You can see the letter in the Blacklight here, and what it looks like not in the Blacklight. Just it looks like an envelope with
the letter itself,
thick piece of paper with a fancy script, and here we'll read it. Do you want to read it, or should I?
You can read it if you want.
It says, well, hopefully I can see it clear enough on my screen.
Oh, if you click on the alt text, I actually translated it in English, just not cursive for people, because people were having trouble reading in cursive.
It's a little smaller on my screen, which makes it a little bit harder to read. But
I was going to say, if you can't, I always can too. So.
Yeah. So here, I'll just give it a try. It says proxy The tide of fate. That immediately, I'm just like, wait, what? Tide of fate swirls around you with glorious fury and has chosen you to serve as its surrogate in a crisis most perilous. The future of at least 2 worlds hangs in the balance. Your talent for changing destiny has been noticed, hence the reason for this letter. Many paths lead forward, but only one ends with the survival of Nirn. At this particular moment, in this specific instance, you must be the thread that keeps reality itself from unraveling. So there's definitely specifically chosen words and phrases in here. I shall summon you as soon as the inescapable fortunes of consequence show me where you are needed most. Laramil the Wise. Okay, so... Do we want to reveal what happens when you put the blacklight on there? As I'm sure people can see it on the screen right now. So
the image itself, when you use the blacklight, which, props to Foxden for figuring out, like, the paper is very thick. There's no weird little trinket this year, like a coin or a map or anything. So they were like, this can't be this straightforward. There has to be something else. So we had a lengthy discussion on Tales of Tamriel, the episode 331 that just launched, discussing like what they did, but they went through with a hairdryer, trying heat. They tried lemon juice.
Wow.
Like they went all in on assuming there was something else. And then they tried the black light, which they didn't have. So they had to go buy one. So did I, because this isn't the 90s and I didn't have a black light.
You're not hosting raves at your house?
I am not. And I don't have any of those like black fuzzy neon poster things. Fresh out of those too. It's really a shame. But
bummer, dude.
When you shine a black light on it, suddenly in the middle of the note, you get the symbol for Hermaeus Mora, which is his banner flag, which is obviously the best thing ever.
The best thing ever. Right. So this is the connection to some of the things in the letter. We'll review the letter again later on in the episode.
Because there is wording in the letter that strongly relates to a lot of this as well.
Right. So that leads to the concept of a black light, which people then went, wait a minute, there's a city named Blacklight.
That's the big thing, is just like, that seems so coincidental.
Super on the nose.
It's so on the nose that it's like that they don't usually do, like, Elder Scrolls does some pretty interesting like wordplay and things like that. And it's like, to use a blacklight to discover a secret on a note in an area that's highly questionable if we're going to the region of Morrowind again, it's like, okay, that's seems like that's a giveaway right there, that was your answer to the puzzle.
Right. So here, let's dive into where exactly Blacklight is and why this might be a location that we're going to visit and how that might work. So pulling up the UESP, we'll just use this as a quick little summary because there's really not a ton of information here.
No, we actually haven't been to Blacklight since Arena. I believe that's the only time we've been there was in Arena.
And all of its 320 pixel glory.
It sure was.
Oh man, those are some big pixels. Anyway, this is how it goes. Blacklight is one of the 8 major cities on the mainland of Morrowind, situated on the northwest point of the province near the Velothi Mountains. So, if you're picturing this in your head, it is not on the island of Vardenfell. It is it is at the very top left side of the continent, like top northwest side. Yeah, if you from Riften went like northeast, or if you from what was the Dawnguard location? That the Castle Dawnguard is like
Fort Dawnguard,
Fort Dawnguard is like real close to this. If you just head a little bit more north and east from there, you would end up at the very edge of that part of the continent before you'd end up at the kind of the inlet bay that goes around the island of
Vardenfell. Which makes that little like scoop that goes around, which the other side of the scoop is highly speculated as well. We'll get into that afterwards.
Right. But this portion of the map we haven't been to. The way they designed Eastmarch in ESO is a little bit different than the way it's shaped in Skyrim.
Right.
So it actually kind of shoots out towards this little area where Blacklight would be. So maybe the Blacklight in the ESO map will be situated a little bit more south, or
it'll be squished in a little bit. Like
Yeah, there might be a way for them to make this work, but that's the location. If you're thinking East March, it's just on the edge there. So let's go on to get in with this a little bit more. Blacklight is most well known as the capital of the great house Redoran, whose values revolve around the virtues of maintaining honor and persevering through hard work as a valiant warrior. We talked about them. This has all been leading up to this. So we hopefully have gotten you guys information on all this stuff. And if you haven't listened to those last few episodes, go back, listen to the different houses and all that. Since the provincial capital Mournhold was sacked by the Argonians in the Accession War, words are hard.
Accession War? I'm not really...
Accession. I think the word is accession. It's a very strange word. It looks common, but it's not.
Not super common. Yeah.
Yeah. The fourth era 6. So this is at the end of the period that we mostly know about what was going on in this part of the world. Blacklight has become the new capital, and the council of great houses has been held in the city's root spire. So if we're talking about Blacklight during the time of ESO, we're now talking about the second era. This is very early. This is way before this happens. But during that time, it still would have been the location where the House Redoran was focused on. It just wouldn't have been a major capital for all of Morrowind. Any thoughts on any of that so far?
Well, it's kind of interesting because we're dealing with a great house scenario, which is always usually it's hard to ever not have that be a central portion of dealing with Morrowind because it's so ingrained in all of their politics. But it's honestly, I'm just really eager to kind of see this whole area because kind of like you joked, it's only been shown in like all its 18 pixel goodness before. And those, the towns and stuff like that playing through Arena, they do have some uniqueness to them, but it's really just kind of like pretty flat, generic place. They're not filled out the way they have been because Elder Scrolls Online has really reached into a lot of the really, really old stuff that we haven't seen and given it a full fine detail makeover so that you actually get a better feel of it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like these areas, I love the whole weirdness of Morrowind and its alien vibe. So I'm very excited to see kind of their spin on some of this stuff. And I hope they accentuate exactly how weird it is. Granted, Redoran's a little less extreme than something like House Telvanni or whatever.
Which was the other speculation, was the Telvanni Peninsula, which is the other side of Morrowind.
Yes, the Telvanni Peninsula, which we'll get into afterwards. But I mean, Redoran housing is still pretty cool, just like those weird shell style buildings, or, you have the Belmora style of like they're almost like a weird stucco version of stuff. They've definitely got their own unique vibe, even if it's a little more normal than just weird fungi houses.
Yeah. Fungi houses. You got a fungi house. A funky house? No, a fungi house. So, all right. So let's talk about the layout and geography just a little bit. So it is the capital of the Great House Redoran, and by extension, their district, which spanned all of the northwest Morrowind from Silgrad Tower to the far south. So we're talking like that whole strip of land along the coast there. The towns of Aldrune and Margan from across the Inner Sea to the east, or even Raven Rock in the frontier to the north. The town has hedge mazes in its parks, and the city harbors are marked by wharves and piers. The city's region and its neighboring borderlands has been riddled with bandits and thieves since early in the First Era and as far as the late Third Era. They are typically held up in caves throughout the mountains and would raid villages and farms on both sides of the border. One of the most well-known examples was the Blacklight Raiders of the First Era, a band of Breton adventurers that attacked other bandit clans and raided tombs across the land. But as time went on, they robbed villagers in the Blacklight region for their family heirlooms and sacred relics. By the Fourth Era, Blacklight's size and scope rivaled that of Mournhold. Blacklight is neighbored by several settlements, one of them being Cormar View to the west. So we have a foundation here of enough details that they could definitely build something out.
For sure.
There are locations, there are docks, there are caves. We know that there might be roving bands of brigands who might be Bretons who have kind of moved over to this side of the continent in order to prey on the dark elves or whatever.
Right. Would be remiss to not bring up Rob. Actually, the princess had a really good point where Fort Dawnguard is found within Dayspring Canyon, and the Dawnguard was created around the Second Era. So we're in the ballpark of that as well. Again, he mentioned as well, and I kind of don't think so. It doesn't really seem like that's where the story necessarily is going, like at least from any of the hints we've gotten so far.
To do more vampire stuff would be early.
Yeah,
I feel like
I would take a hard pass on more vampire stuff personally, but yeah, just it's something worth noting that's also like in that area as well. Other notable places that we've seen, but not in their entirety, although we have a little more to that than we do, obviously, something like just Blacklight proper or whatever.
Right.
But so, yeah, it's not a huge region of the map either. It's
like the little portion that they haven't actually fleshed out yet. On that side of the map is this tiny little sliver along the coast. Yeah, it runs from really like East small. March down the Rift, and then like it's just a very skinny sliver. But we've seen that they don't, even in the more recent expansion, they've got like these island locations and separate little islands, one island over here, another island over there. And then they've got the new expansion, which is another island. And they've shown that they don't necessarily have to have all of the regions all directly connecting in one big landmass anymore.
Correct.
In fact, they've always had kind of a major landmass and then a secondary location that you go to. So if we're talking about like the Somerset Isles, or like that's typically like one big location, but then you also can travel somewhere else, like a much smaller location.
Right. Some of the dungeons are literally you go to docks and you boat off the island, like to like adjacent miniature islands and stuff like that. So kind of to that point, and we can kind of jump off that. Whereas this is the smaller area, and it's kind of the exact opposite side of the map from the other speculation that I also kind of think holds a decent amount of credence, which is the Telvanni Peninsulas, which is we've got the middle, we've got Vardenfell proper, we have Stone Falls region, we have
the part south of region, that.
Right. And then that's kind of cuts a swath right down the middle. And then on the other side, I always joke it's called the Morrowind mitten because it literally looks like a little mitten grabbing on the other side there. Much, much bigger portion of the map that we, again, have not seen since we were back in Arena where you could go to these areas. But this is Telvanni territory. You have the most notable city that everybody, including myself, kind of would like to see is Necrom. This whole side of the island, I think, is not, it's, in my opinion, it doesn't need to be one or the other. Right. Because they've changed their situation from being a year thing where you get the chapter expansion, then separation by Q3, and then you get a zone expansion. They've mentioned that they're going to do one big set of zones with an S in the letter. For the Q2 chapter release. I think the major landmass will be the Telvanni Peninsulas, and you'll also have to travel over to the other side, and that's where you'll get the other thing. So instead of it being a Q4 DLC where it's a smaller area of the map that connects the two stories, I think we're going to get the big landmass and the small landmass, but instead of the kind of artificial time barrier, we just get it all at once and travel between the two. Right.
So the small landmass being Blacklight and that region south.
What is it? I was going to say the Dayspring Canyon, stuff like that, all that area. I think that'll be the smaller landmass, and that will complete the region of Mournhold. Well, yes, Mournhold's there. Complete the region of Morrowind.
Right. So, and then we'll end up with the west side being Blacklight south, and then the east side, for our listeners to be able to picture this, being the Telvanni Peninsula. So everything east and west of Vardenfell, which is the island in the middle. So we'll end up with basically the rest of Morrowind.
Right. We would finally get a full current day picture. Well, current day, the second era, but I mean current video game day era of what it sees. And the reason that I think, well, other than that would kind of be required because that would be the smallest chapter expansion ever. If it was literally just Blacklight and Dayspring and stuff, that would be a real small expansion. I feel like the Telvanni Peninsulas will be useful in terms of providing one, your storyline tie-in and everything like that. But this aligns you with the Telvanni in one way or another, whether they're your friends, your adversaries, whatever the case. That's sort of irrelevant.
Right.
They're known for being master mages.
Right.
And there was confirmation that we are going to get a long requested system that has not been in the game. And a lot of people have been throwing out the idea of spellcrafting.
Yeah, I still don't know how that would work in an MMO.
So
I'm still not sure about that, but okay.
I'm very curious on how it will function. However, if you go back, this is super nerdy, weird. Why do I remember this stuff? But you can look up the video. If you go back to QuakeCon 2015, I believe it is. Oh boy.
All right.
When Nick Conkle was one of the design directors, he does not work at ZOS anymore and has not for years. His pet project was spellcrafting. It was put on the back burner when he left. However, at this QuakeCon, they show you spellcrafting, how it is acquired, the spells that are in the game. All of these things are technically there, at least the bones of them. It is definitely a long asked for feature. I think balance is probably the biggest holdup for something like this.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
But one of the holdups with the game is a lack of memory, etc. However, in terms of spellcrafting, you can make spells without requiring more animations. If you can summon the other Atronachs, that animation's in the game when they summon in themselves.
Right. Or casting a fireball or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like just logistically, the potential is there. Like it makes sense that it could happen if that's the case. And the biggest one that I went on a very long thing about in Tales last night, so I'll give a brief synopsis of it, is a way to kind of like lore explain why you just are getting these. Originally, I said if we're going to get spellcrafting, it was back. I was like, oh, the College of Winterhold could make sense.
Right.
But that didn't happen because we just didn't get the College of Winterhold. We go Western Skyrim. I'm like, all right, never mind. Well, in this situation, and it comes from ESO and has next to no details on it. When Queen Ayren goes on her pilgrimage, basically,
she disappears.
And, just kind of disappears.
Right.
One of the tales that supposedly was told about her is she disguises herself, sneaks into Necrom, and studies something called the Indigo Tomes, which are Telvanni fancy MacGuffin mage books with next to no information on them.
Oh, I want a fancy MacGuffin mage book.
So
Loot Crate, can you give us a fancy MacGuffin mage book in our next crate?
Mage book, please.
I want to put it on the wall.
So my theory is they will flesh out what those things are. And as a result, with the strong nods to Hermaeus Mora and his search for knowledge and everything like that, he's going to somehow relate to you getting that. And then we end up learning how to craft our own spells as a result of finding these, blah, 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 blah.
Or knowledge you get from Hermie that opens up that ability.
I mean, that's fine. Everybody should just get the stuff for Hermie and give it to him. It's fine. Just
everybody loves Hermie.
But yeah,
he's not doing anything bad. Don't worry.
No, nothing bad happens. Please ignore the skull guy who basically got his brain eaten because he wouldn't give him.
Oh God.
But yeah, so that's kind of my idea. That there's your explanation why it's a potential thing. We'll see if it actually like happens, because that's I feel like I'm going what you did last year where you're analyzing
just like,
the portion of the map direction.
Right.
I'm like, so here's a reason why these books totally matter.
Right. And if this thing works, then what about this thing? And if that thing works, then we could do like, and then you just end up way somewhere else, but whatever. It's fun. Well, I've got some theories. I've got some thoughts.
All right,
and then we can also analyze the text a little bit more from the message. So we're going to do that when we get back, but we got to go thank our patrons. So we will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
This is Miss Mora, Dragonborn, and you are educating yourself to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast.
All right, here we are in the middle of the show. This is where we get to thank our new patrons and our old patrons and all the patrons, but our new ones first because we have some new pledges over this last week. Holy moly, we got a bunch of them. We got to shout out Noah M, Zachary M, Chris, Hat. Somebody just named Hat. That's awesome. Austin H, Chimmy or Chimey. I'm so good with names, guys.
This is great.
Justin S, The Court Jester, Jared S, and Raker Grim. Everybody's getting some more creative names, I feel like. I don't know if these are actual names or not, but thank you so much for signing up on the Patreon.
I hope they're real names.
I hope so. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. That brings us up to 138 current patrons, including our Daedric Princes, Kira C. and Noodle Al Dente, who get shoutouts every week for being tier 5 patrons. And thank you to every single one of you for supporting the show. You guys are awesome. We will be doing a patron episode coming up in just a week on the 26th. It's the 19th as we record this right now. And so come join us if you're a tier 4 or higher patron. Make sure you're on the Discord. I'll send out notifications.
It'll be the day after the big reveal.
Yeah. And hopefully we can talk about the big reveal. If you guys want to talk about something else, it's totally fine. But I have a feeling everyone's going to be buzzing about the big reveal.
What percentage of this did I get wrong with my long diatribe about how it makes sense?
So we'll see. We'll see how much we can make fun of Lotus or not next week. But if you'd like to join us, there's still time. You can sign up tier 4 in order to join us next week. And we do that on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So if those times work for you, then go for it. We'd love to have you. Also, we have, and by the way, that's at patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast if you want to find the address. Links are all in the description of the show and all that stuff. We also have a new, no, we don't have a new one. This one is not in the last week. This one we read out last week, I think. But yeah. Oh no, this is the one that I need to save. I keep forgetting this.
Oh,
this is one I need to save.
That one for the. Yeah, I was going to say, didn't we need to save what? This is the one we're saving for. Yeah.
Yes, we're going to save this one for next week. So it's on the list for next week. But if you'd like to leave us a rating and review, 5-star ratings and reviews from Apple Podcasts get read out on the show. So we'll read out your reviews. We'll get your words on the show. And if you want to just drop us a rating on Spotify, that helps as well, or wherever else you listen to, or even telling your friends. Any of that stuff helps. And we really do appreciate it. All of the support. We couldn't do the show without you guys. So that's what we got. Let's move on with the rest of the show.
You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, dear child of cities. That is why the Night Mother loves you.
All right, we're back. And I've got... Well, here, let's read. I've got another idea, but before we do that, and you know me, I like to speculate in things in different directions than what most people think, because maybe there's a chance. All right, so the letter specifically says, when we're not going to read through the whole thing again, but it specifically has these phrases in it. The tide of fate.
My favorite line.
Where do we know the tide of fate from?
Oh man, my favorite thing is that they open this letter with the description of my favorite Daedric prince from Battlespire, who's known as the Daedric prince who scries the tides of fate. And I'm like, wow. And that's why I was kind of thrown off that there wasn't more to that to start with. And then spoiler, the Blacklight thing, it was like, oh, it's a giant Hermaeus Mora symbol. Like suddenly because once I read that, I was like, ooh, I like where this is going. And then I really liked where this was going. Yeah.
So not only do we have the Hermaeus Mora symbol in the Blacklight, but we also have the tide of fate swirls around you. So whoever Laramil the Wise is, which I've done a search, I'm sure lots of people done a search, don't know who that is yet. they clearly know this phrase, and they've also now included Hermes' insignia on this. So they seem to be somebody who worships or works for Hermaeus Mora, and they're using this kind of language, right? Then we have glorious fury is another statement. This is interesting. The future of at least two worlds hangs in the balance.
That one's an interesting one.
Because there are definitely realms of oblivion. You can consider that a world, like, right? So like maybe certain realms, but I don't think Hermes' world is in threat.
A lot of people have been thinking the Apocrypha pull because obviously Hermaeus Mora, but I don't get the impression that his is the world that they're referring to.
I think there's probably something else going on here. That would be my guess.
Nern and ... Like,
yeah, right. Now it may be another realm of oblivion. It may be something else completely. We don't really know.
Does it turn out that Meridia is finally exposed for being a giant jackass? maybe. So, but then the whole your talent for changing destiny has been noted, which of course you're the vestige, right? Like, yeah, and he's the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, so he's well acquainted with all your escapades.
Right, he's keeping track of everything, hence the reason for the letter. And then it goes into you might be the thread that keeps reality from itself from unraveling. The threads of reality, that's something that has come up. That phrase has come up before.
Yes, that phrase is used semi-frequently in the series, especially related to, some weirdness with time and everything like that.
Yeah, weirdness with time. And then I also think the Elder Scrolls themselves. This phrase is also used in response to the actual scrolls.
Right, because they're all like threads of a tapestry, and that's how some of the princes can read it. And, obviously some people can read it. And it's like, yeah, it's a destiny, but it's a not unchangeable destiny. It's just the direction unless something intervenes, so to speak. So, yeah, it's very interesting where that's implying that we're like those. I don't have like I think this directly points at this thing the way I did with some of the other other parts. Those ones definitely more nebulous, like, ooh, okay, so I think this is just giving us a nod where the story's going to be, but I'm not sure we have enough info for that part of it yet.
Yeah, it does all seem to be pointing at Hermes and at knowledge and maybe Elder Scrolls themselves.
Yes, and the other thing also is Hermaeus Mora isn't phrased in a way that it's a Daedric threat. It looks like Hermaeus Mora is looking for an ally.
Yes.
Again.
Yes. No, this seems like something that Laramil the Wise works for Hermes and is looking to do something to save Nirn with Hermes' knowledge or permission or direction. Correct. And so this will benefit Hermaeus Mora. So maybe that means Apocrypha is being threatened in some way. It may have something more to do. So like the final line says, I shall summon you as soon as the inescapable fortunes of consequence show me where you are needed most. So it's like this
They're
person
still letting stuff play out
or
Hermes.
They don't have a definite sense of what's happening in the future, but they've got enough knowledge of what's going to happen in the future to know that things are headed down the wrong track.
And the interesting thing to me about that, which is why I'm not really thinking the Apocrypha thing is really at the forefront, referring to the realms thing. I feel like Mora might be a little more concerned if it was his own realm, whereas I feel like he's watching whatever else this is to let it play out to the point where it's like, okay, now I need to intervene for whatever purpose I'm intervening.
Right.
So I really am curious, as Mora definitely seems like an ally, because again, I'm the villain of the story if they try to make me take down Hermaeus Mora, as we all will expect. So it's just easier to make him on our side. But yeah, it seems to, at least to me, imply it's Nirn and someplace else that is being watched. And it'll be problematic down the line if this doesn't go as planned, type of thing. So I'm curious to see if that ends up actually being a thing, or, maybe not as much. And it does relate directly to Apocrypha or whatever.
Right. So other than speculating what this other world is, we do have a lot of Hermimora stuff. We've got potentially scroll stuff and potentially the way time plays out kind of language here. The anticipating what's going to happen in the future, the fact that the world hangs in the balance, but then these phrases that have something to do with like the tapestry of time, which we've seen before when it comes to content in Elder Scrolls. So what if we get places like Blacklight and that little, like you mentioned before, the little strip of land on the edge there. So we definitely still get some of that stuff. But what if there's a different location that we're going to that's not the Telvanni Peninsula? The Telvanni Peninsula on the map is actually a very large area of land.
It's really big portion of the map. Yeah.
It seems larger than what they would normally do to do both of those zones. You know what might actually work, though, and where we know there's a connection to Hermaeus Mora already? Solstheim.
All right.
We're already in that part of the world. Solstheim is kind of a split island between Morrowind and Skyrim.
Yep.
The worship of Miraak happened on Solstheim. This is before Miraak returns during the events of Skyrim.
Right,
but during the time that he's
chilling off and doing his own thing.
He's chilling in wherever Hermie put him in his little area.
His little pocket. And just, it's like, all right, don't be bad. And then he went off and started doing his own thing and got annoyed with Hermaeus Mora. And, you know, later on, we get the events of Dragonborn, but not yet.
And we've already had dragons brought back into the world in ESO and the elsewhere stuff. So dragons already exist. Time, the tapestry of time, all of those things. What if there's a Solstheim connection, Hermaeus Mora, something going on with a scroll and the Akatosh? What if it's like...
Yeah, you'd have to bring in like an Akatosh. All right.
Hermie, Akatosh
so
kind of stuff.
Going in a little bit of a different direction. You're going more north.
And we were also told that the last expansion was all going to be about like tension between groups and cultures and, like the Bretons and the power struggle and all of that. To do another one of those with like the Telvanni and the Redoran and the whole culture exchange between the different Morrowind houses again. When everything this is saying is end of the world crazy stuff, big epic thing again, not just infighting between groups of people, right? So if that's the case, then Hermie, Akatosh, Elder Scrolls, like that is the recipe. That is at least a recipe for like world bending, end of everything, potentially cataclysmic type of stuff.
Yep.
So maybe there's something there.
All right. I see what you're saying. I mean that doesn't seem illogical to me. So like it's got its own ties in. Like those all still totally make sense. It aligns up if they're doing some foreshadowing and stuff like that.
And Solstheim would be a completely interesting place to visit because unlike the other locations in Skyrim where you have just like a location that you're kind of familiar with, but it's further back in time, Solstheim was like everybody there was corrupted by Hermaeus Mora. They were all working for him when we go visit that location in Skyrim later on, right? But in the second era, that location of the world would be very, very different.
Oh yeah, it would be totally different. It wouldn't be half frozen, the rest of it covered in ash.
Yeah, it would be a very different location. So we would end up with like this like, oh, this port feels familiar. The town over there feels familiar, but the rest of the map looks way different. Oh, wait, who are these groups of people? Oh, wait, there's more Dunmer that lived here during this time period or whatever.
Right, because this is even pre, the Tribunal expansion with Morrowind. Just thinking back to Vardenfell, that expansion, Morrowind expansion was 5 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Vardenfell is so much more verdant and there's definitely the volcanic runoff in the back, but at the same time, it's the volcano hadn't blown up in a while, so it wasn't covering everything in ash. There wasn't the whole situation with Dagathur yet, so it was like the blight coming down. You go to a lot of these places like Vivek City and stuff, and it's like they're pleasant. Like it's just like a spring day.
Yeah. There's plants and weird fungus growing all over the place, and
that
animals.
Same effect in Solstheim. Like
yeah. And I think the cultural landscape would be very, very different. But you would still have the temples and the buried worship centers and the Reeklings. Sure. Those
would still be there.
Yeah, they'd still be there. Like there might still be all of that stuff. And who knows? Because this is like that middle gap. Like, are we going to see Mirak come back, or does Mirak try to escape too early and break out of?
Back. Yeah, you got to shove him back in there.
You got to shove him back in there. Just it's not your time yet. Like I don't know. Like maybe that's a little too on the nose, a little too. But it could be a thing, and that is a section of the world that we don't have on the map yet in ESO.
Yep. So yeah, that is another area that we're technically missing. So
and everything that we know about is very related to Hermaeus Mora. So there is that as well. Maybe that's a thing. That's just another option, just another side idea. Yeah, and Rob in chat says, "Can you imagine Solstheim as a beautiful fertile land?" Yeah, it would be weird, but it could be a thing.
It would be weird. It's like I was going to say, when you got off the boat into Sidemeen for the Morrowind expansion, I was like, oh, it's so nice. Right. Which it wasn't even the dumpiest of places in Morrowind. It got ashier going north, but it was just like when you get off the boat, it was just like it's just funny to see. It's so lush at the time. I was like, God.
I remember Morrowind back when it came out, and the water tech. Remember the water shaders were like a thing, and it was like everything else is super blocky and crappy looking and brown. But then I just remember standing on the dock, just watching the water, and it was like, oh my God,
it's so beautiful.
Look at the water. Everything else looks like garbage, but look at the water.
That square man is talking to me, but my God, the water's pretty.
I can't hit that crab for the life of me with a stick, but the water looks really good.
Killed by a scrib.
Yeah. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. That's where we are in the speculation. I could be totally wrong. Lotus could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
Who even knows? Like the Telvanni thing was a line that came from the last expansion that somebody just said, oh, Telvanni Peninsula this time of year seems nice or something like that. Who knows?
They're very, very quick references. There's one, there's a couple of them, but like you said, they're quick. One was from, I believe, the Skyrim event. Like one of the NPCs you talk to makes reference to it. Lady Laurent, actually, I just found out about this. I did not find this myself, but I just heard it recently. Was that Lady Laurent, who's like a recurring character with her ridiculous manservant Stibbins.
Stibbins.
So after you deal with their whole fiasco in High Isle, apparently if you talk to her again, she makes reference to wanting to go to either Hammerfell or the Telvanni Peninsula. So it's like there's little nods, but it's like that's usually how they breadcrumb us the information.
Right.
The problem is it makes a lot of sense when you look back on things, and it's like, oh, well, this one was right here. It's hard to speculate going forward when they tell you where you're going.
Sure. Yeah, because any number of characters could just mention something like, oh, yeah, I'm from this part of the world. And then somebody's like, wait a minute, we haven't explored that part of the world yet. And then they think now that's where the expansion's going to go. And as long as that takes off online on Twitter or whatever, and then all of a sudden everybody's this is what's going to happen. And then every single time it ends up being something different. And then it either becomes that thing, and people are like, oh, see, we totally knew. I'm so not surprised and I'm not excited or whatever.
Yeah,
they play too cool. Or there's the, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. I guess we were wrong, but it's this other thing. Oh, that's fun. And then they just move on. It's just like, the whole process is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, the end of speculation is always the funniest, unless you literally get it right. It's just like, again, you dismissively are like, oh, well, whatever. Like,
whatever. It's
or
fun.
It's just like, oh, well, I was wrong. Oh, well. It's like, unless you get it right, when you can just gloat forever until you have to make another speculation and you totally get that one wrong. And people are like, oh, you just threw darts at the wall and just got lucky once. It's like, I sure did.
Yep. We'll just name every location we haven't been to yet, and then one of them will be right.
Exactly. Let me put it this way. I will never let anyone forget that we listed every single dragon that could possibly be the dragon before Elsewhere dropped. And I was the one that said Nafalargus, who turned out to be the red dragon in the game. So I'm just going to say, there we go. See, look how right I was this one time. Ignore the other 9 dragons that I named that are wrong.
Don't worry about it. It's totally cool. Yeah, you just pick and choose. This is what real world psychics do also. But
I was going to say, it's
exactly the same thing. Yeah, there you go. You're psychic. Well, this has been fun, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll be back next week with our patrons to talk about what gets revealed in like 6 days from now. What actually happens and how wrong we are. So tune in for that. We'll be back. Lotus, you got anything else going on you want to share?
No, not really. I'm hoping actually to stream a little bit this weekend. Been playing through more Daggerfall. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely getting a little more challenging as I found a few very odd situations, but I got myself permanently stuck and had to reload a save. And then people were wondering how I did this after everybody that was experiencing chat was like, I never ran into that situation. I was like, perfect. I'm finding new stuff all the time.
Weird.
But no, the game itself is really fun, and I've been enjoying finding like a lot of tie-ins to that stuff. And people have been telling me they really have enjoyed watching the playthrough either live or on my YouTube. And tomorrow I'm going to be releasing, I got my new Elder Scrolls we were actually just talking about before the show. When we got the new loot crate things from Elder Scrolls. And I, due to people asking for it, I have no idea. I've never done an unboxing, but I did an unboxing thing. So I'm going to try just to clip up the video and put that up tomorrow. So that way you can see if you want to go on eBay to buy something, because you can't retroactively buy these. So they're really not that useful.
I should sell, like, I don't really care about the pins. Like, I never put them on anything. They just sit in the little baggies. I should sell a collection of all the pins I've gotten.
All of the pins?
Yeah.
Yep.
$100, right?
$100. Here's every pin. Because otherwise you have to buy them all individually off other sellers.
That sounds like way too much. But yeah, maybe I should put them up for sale, because I don't know that I'll...
People have those on eBay all the time, and I've actually been told people like have trouble finding them. Like I had my thing where I waited till the old company folded and the new company took off.
Yeah, I remember.
Then I bought 2 of them, and then I keep saying I should probably stop bringing this up, because eventually somebody's going to hear at Loot Crate. That credit card isn't active, so I have no idea who they're charging. But I keep getting them.
Magic money. It's just
magic money.
So magic money.
I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff is really cool. I like this last one. So it's easier to buy them when it's stuff you want. But like the problem is people mark them up because you can't retroactively buy them. So you can get them on eBay.
It's limited. Yeah.
But they're expensive too, because people mark the stuff up because there's no other way to really get it at that point.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe I'll put them on. Maybe I'll pin them onto like one of the flags I've got in the back.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. I was going to say that.
I should find just places to put them.
Decent amount of stuff. That soul gem lamp is still, which you can just barely see behind me. Mm-hmm. I love that thing. That thing's great. Yeah.
I got mine right over. I don't remember where I put stuff. Anyway, I've got my stuff all sorts of different places. Well, cool. Well, go check out Lotus's videos, and you can check out the rest of my shows and all the stuff that I do. robotsradio.net for all of that stuff. And that's what we got for this week, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out. Chat, thanks for being here. And we'll be back next week. We'll see you then. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on Twitter at robots_radio or Lotus of Doom at Lotus of Doom. Also, you can join us on the Robots Radio Discord channel. You can easily just search Robots Radio Discord on Google or check the description underneath the podcast. Also, this podcast is recorded live every week on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on the Robots Radio channels on Twitch, YouTube, and on Facebook. So just search Robots Radio on any of those platforms. Come join us. We'd love to chat with you while we record the show, or before or after. Either way, just come hang out with us. And if you're looking for more information about my shows and the shows on the Robots Radio Network, go to robotsradio.net for all the information about all the shows on the network, including the Robots Radio Rocket Club, where I help both new and existing podcasters to grow their shows, build their audiences, and create the best podcast they possibly can. All of that at robotsradio.net. We'll see you next time.